usual. All right, today is Tuesday and we have a few questions on Monopoly. Sahara, can you repeat your question?
With the journal entries, am I supposed to do every single transaction?
Yes, so you have logged 25 you've logged 25 Monopoly transactions. Did you calculate your ending balance yet?
Not yet, because I calculated, but it didn't add up to what I had, so I need to double check if I logged everything.
It's not the end of the world if it doesn't balance. The point is to learn the
Oh,
process. So, all right.
oh, okay.
So you will make a separate journal entry for every transaction. So let me just hold this up. This is a manual version. So
Okay.
like the first can you see this?
Yeah.
So like the first transaction I booked for you guys on the Excel spreadsheet. It's a
Mhm.
debit to cash, 1,500, and a credit to common stock, 1,500.
Okay.
And then a little description. This says initial investment. And then skip a line if you don't mind. It just makes it easier to read. And then you have transaction 2. And this was for Amir. He's in my office hours right now, and he landed on somebody's property and he had to pay rent. So he had rent expense, $6, and cash credit, $6. So I want you to think in terms of every transaction of your 25, just for Monopoly. It's not always going to be the case. Is
Oh,
either going to be cash going up or cash going down. When cash goes up, it's a debit. When cash goes down, it's a credit. So you're going to have 25 transactions that are going to involve cash.
okay.
So now on your Monopoly sheet, can you please go to the chart of accounts?
Chart of accounts, yes.
Okay. So what I want you to do there is, as you're booking transactions, if you add up the accounts that you have on this list, and you might not even use all of them, but there's only 16 unique accounts.
Yeah.
Don't make up any new ones. Only use these accounts.
Okay.
So if you land on Oriental Avenue, which was what Shira did, and bought it,
Mm-hmm.
and you paid, I forget what you paid, Shira, but it was $140,
Yeah.
$160. So cash goes down 160. What goes up if you buy property?
Your debit,
It's gonna be a debit, but what is it a debit to?
cash.
No, you bought it, so cash went.
Oh, cash went down. Your land.
Yeah, so land went up, it's an asset.
Yeah.
So when an asset goes up, that's a debit.
Okay.
Cash went down, cash is also an asset. When an asset goes down, it's a credit. So you're going to have debit land, credit cash, $160. Okay.
Okay. And then also when I'm paying rent, um, it would be marked as rent expense, but when I log it in my journal, do I say rent expense and then say cash at the second column?
So tell me what you're doing with rent expense. Are you debiting or crediting it?
I am crediting.
So rent expense, so go up to the top of your page and on the right side, just kind of go to the right and you'll see the rules of debit and credit.
Okay.
Can you
So
move your camera over just a little more? Yeah, there you go. Now for assets, you increase assets with a debit, you decrease assets with a credit.
yes.
What do you do for what do you do for expenses?
I'm paying it, so credit.
You're paying
This,
it, but
this thing.
as a company, did expenses just go up or did expenses go down?
Expenses went up.
Okay, so what do we do?
If expenses went up.
You can just read it on the chart there. You increase expenses by half, debit or credit.
Debit.
Yeah. And if you forget, just think in terms of what's the other account. If you pay rent, what's the other account? One account is rent expense. What's the other account that's involved?
Credit decreases.
Yeah, but how did you pay the rent? What account?
My cash
Good. So it can go up or down.
down.
So we know when cash goes down, it's a credit.
Oh, yes.
So then you have that half of your journal entry. And now you just need a debit. And so it's rent expense And the company has increased expenses by the rent expense. Okay, so think of it that way.
So I would put in rent expense at the top column.
Top row, you debit rent expense,
Oh, debit rent. So I'd mark it as debit.
and you'd credit cash. So show me what you did. I can give you a really,
Oh, I haven't wrote that one down because I had to
okay, you know what, I'll do it here. I'll call it transaction 4. How much was the rent expense?
It was $50.
Okay, so. And well, you don't need that. I don't need that. Just when you buy property, list the name of the property, but here you'll have a rent expense. It'll be in the debit column. And
Yes.
we indent cash and it'll be in the credit column.
Okay.
And that'll be paid rent. Okay.
Okay. And then when I receive
See you
rent,
at 1:30 on Thursday for tech check.
See ya.
See you. Okay.
and then when I receive rent, it would go,
So what happened to cash when you receive rent? Did cash go up or down?
it went up,
Debit or credit?
debit.
Yeah, so that's your first line. Now you
Okay.
do credit. So you bought property and now you charge somebody rent.
Okay.
So look at your chart of accounts and say, where would this go?
Accounts, it would go under revenue.
What kind of revenue?
Rent revenue.
Yeah. Okay. So it's-
Oh, so I have to mark.
journal entries get easier if you just think in terms of, is cash involved, up or down, debit or credit, and then you're just looking for the other account.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. And you're going to post these to your T accounts and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All
Okay.
right.
I had one more question.
Yeah, go ahead, Sharon.
For when you get money from the, what's it called? The community chest, would that be cash or the miscellaneous revenue?
So you got money.
Yeah, but I
You
didn't
have-
say why. I just said like you got $100.
So on your log sheet, you recorded it as a plus $100, right?
Yeah.
So you know that that means cash went up, and that means what when cash goes up?
Debit.
Debit, yeah. So now the
And-
other half of that is, where did the money come from? What do we do? What's the source of that revenue?
The community chest.
Was it random? It wasn't.
Yeah, that one was
it
just
wasn't
random.
rent and it wasn't salary. So we know it's revenue. So which revenue are we going to use?
The miscellaneous
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Okay.
So those two accounts are just the odd little revenue or expense accounts that we don't want to have separate titles for because they happen once in a while. See you later, Sheila.
Yeah. Perfect.
Thanks for coming by.
And then do we have to write the date next to every single of the entries?
It's all going to be the same date, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay.
So,
Perfect. Thank you.
all right.
Oh, sorry. I had one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't quite understand like like when I'm putting like my assets and liabilities in order, I don't understand the liquidity, or is it liquidity? Like of how to like know which one to put next,
So if you go to.
or like why.
Yeah, there's a great example in chapter 2. And that I just tell students, if you have access to a printer, or you can just take a screenshot of it. So let me share my screen. Okay, share my screen. Yeah. So I'm going to go here. I opened up the textbook
Okay.
and I'm going to go scroll down and I'm going to come to chapter 2 and I'm going to go to classified balance sheet.
Oh,
And then I'm going to come to this one right here, Franklin balance sheet. And it's just a great place to get the order of liquidity. So cash is always first. Then something called long-term, short-term investments,
Mm-hmm.
accounts receivable and so forth. So that's your order right there. And then if you have, we don't have any of these long-term investments in Monopoly.
Yeah.
We do have land. And you might have buildings if you put a house on it. So you have land and then possibly building, rolling stock, patents. We don't have that in Monopoly. And then under liabilities, you have the order of liquidity, how fast we have to pay them.
Okay.
And then long-term liabilities, okay? So
Okay.
if you could share your Monopoly one more time for me and go to the chart of accounts.
And then chart of accounts.
There you go. All right. Now I can't see it, but I know everybody knows it's there. So if you read down the asset column, you'll have cash. I think you'll have accounts receivable, land and building. That's the order for those accounts. Okay.
Okay.
And so I'm giving them to you in the order of liquidity.
Uh,
When we do our exam, I'll give you a scrambled list and say, give me a balance sheet. But for now, I'm just being consistently giving you them in the order of liquidity.
Oh, okay. And then what determines it? So, like I would know on my own.
Yeah, so let's talk about assets. So cash is the most liquid asset.
Yeah.
So the definition of liquidity is how fast something turns into cash, can be converted to cash or used up to create revenue. So cash is always going to be first. The more common assets are going to be accounts receivable will be next because typically we collect accounts receivable in 30 days. Inventory would be something we would buy for the purpose of reselling. So we wouldn't want to keep a year's supply of inventory. We might want to keep 60 days of inventory on hand.
Okay.
Supplies we might keep for 90 days, so it would be lower down. And then when we get into land and equipment and buildings, they have a much longer life. So they're going to be farther down the balance sheet and not as liquid. So in other, if we need cash, we're going to convert accounts receivable to cash, inventory, etc. We're going to turn it over, sell it, and make cash and so forth before we'll sell off a piece of land. Okay.
Okay.
So that's your assets. For liabilities, it means how soon are these debts due? And typically notes payable, accounts payable are right at the top. They have very short term.
Okay.
dates.
And then I just need to memorize those for the test.
Well, the Monopoly is very specific to Monopoly. For the test, I would study the Franklin balance sheet more and the different categories in chapter 2. So you'd be able to know which ones are current assets and what order do they go in. Which ones are long-term assets, which ones are property, plant, and equipment, which ones are intangible, that kind of thing.
Okay. Sounds good.
It's a little more complicated than Monopoly, but the point of Monopoly is to get you really used to transactions and journal entries. So we want you to kind of have a practical example. You've played a game. Let's see if you made any money. What's your net income? How does your balance sheet look? You know, all of that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You bet. All right. Any questions, Amir? So, benefit.
I did want to ask about this one.
Yeah.
So this was miscellaneous revenue, the cash.
You got some, that was me, that beat.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know, I was just looking. This is number 8. So miscellaneous revenue. I put down miscellaneous revenue, but
So you
it
had,
probably was from the chest.
okay, just,
I
we'll
went-
we'll leave it at that. So remember, we don't want cash to go, so we want the debit first and then the credit. So if you could reverse those, so you'd show the debit and then the credit.
So, cause on this one, miscellaneous revenue,
Mhm.
We put credit, or you said put it for credit?
That's, those are, you've booked it correctly. Everything about this, you've done miscellaneous revenue, credit, that's correct. Cash, debit, that's correct. When we list journal entries, we list the debits first, then the credits.
So it'll be cash then
Yeah.
miscellaneous?
And
Oh, it's
cash would
always
be the,
debit first?
always debit first.
Let me see if I. So did,
Let's take a look. You did rent expense, debit first, miscellaneous expense,
so
land,
it's
that's
always
good.
debit first.
Land, these all look great.
'Cause I was thinking that I'm always gonna put cash in the middle.
So you have rolling stock. You bought a
Yeah,
railroad,
purchased a railroad.
so you need the dollar amount there, 260.
Oh, for debit?
Yeah, there's no dollar amount there.
But I thought since I bought it, I thought that meant that it'd be credit because the money's going down.
The money goes down and you made the money go down, cash,
Yeah,
but you have another asset that went up.
so this is
So-
the asset.
So cash went down, but rolling stock went up.
Mhm.
So you need a debit for rolling stock and a credit to cash. So the cash is correct.
So this would also be 260.
Yep.
Okay. 260.
You had two 260s in a row. That's sort of a coincidence.
Well, one was 220, then 260.
This is 260. This is Ventnor Avenue. Oh, the railroad was only 200, not
Oh,
260.
200.
So this is something else that happens a lot because you got your work, and everybody does this. Where you're working with a lot of numbers and then it's just like the lines blur and you pick up the wrong number, but you caught it. So that's good. We caught it.
Thank you.
You bet.
So this is 200 as well.
Yeah. One asset went up, one asset went down.
Mm.
All right, so you're on a roll. And then
Ye-
this one, that's just the rest of that transaction. So you just gotta fix this one. I think you'll be good. And keep going.
So it's always double.
Yeah. I'm gonna pause the video. It's good, thanks. I got a big meeting at 3:30, but other than that, I'm fine. So,
Are you able to?
all right.
Oops. Is this being recorded?
It is. Do you want me not to?
Um,
It would be super helpful if people could see your question, but I can turn the recording off. Your choice.
it's okay if you don't record. I'm
No
sorry.
problem. No problem. I will pause it. Okay, go ahead and share your screen, your home page, and show your Canvas page for me.
Okay. Let me see. I can't pop it up. Okay.
Okay, go to Wiley Course Resources, click on that. And then where it says e-textbook launch, go launch the textbook. Okay, so go to the left and see the table of contents. There you go. Scroll down. And there's chapter 3. So click on chapter 3. And then go click on the table of contents again.
Sorry, I can't. Oh, up here.
Let's go ahead on the sidebar and click on the table of, no, go click on chapter 3. Now go to the sidebar and click on the table of contents again. Yep, there.
Okay.
Now scroll down. I'm going to show you something. So this is chapter 3. Keep scrolling a little more. And what it will do is they're giving you examples, of course, and you can work through those. And then they'll keep going. You're good. Page down. Hold on. Stop there. Where it's gray. So right there. So now they say do it. So what you want to do is they'll give you a little sample problem and then scroll down a little more where it says solution. And then they'll show a solution. And these are really great for students to practice problems and get immediate feedback, okay? So now we get into, that's just the worksheet. So scroll down a little more and focus on debits and credits. And then you'll see another one of those do it's, and they'll make you practice again. And then don't look at the answer, just see if you can figure it out after you've done that, your reading.
Okay,
And it's just,
sounds great.
it's just super helpful to just stop and read and check your answer right then and there to make sure you know what you're doing. That's what we do in class. We stop and do an activity, and I have that on my PowerPoints too. Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
I will see you later.
Mhm.
Email me if you have any questions.
Yeah, of course. Will that video be posted in like announcements or something?
Yeah,
I
that's
just,
my plan. Is that okay with
uh,
you?
that's okay. I don't know why I'm just like,